We are having Jerry Gidel to summarize the week before Christmas in the Chicago Mercantile Exchange, right here on Connected Farmer, your channel to keep you up to date with the latest trends in agriculture and livestock. If you're new here, please make sure to subscribe. So, Jerry, let's start by the beginning of the week. What did you see there?
Well, we kind of had the weekend. Everybody got kind of a little nervous about what happened with some more reports of the Omicron uh, virus here and expanding quite dramatically here over the last 3 or 4 weeks. And we kind of started out a little shaky here and dipped right on the old pause there on Monday morning. But the markets then slowly kind of kept coming back. Beans never really did get all that banged up. I think there was people looking at what was potentially, not much in the rain forecast there for southern Brazil and that type of thing. And so the markets actually by late in the session there on Monday, wheat come back higher on the day. Corn was back off its lows, that kind of stuff. And so the markets gave a positive hue. And then as the week went on, we got lots of different things boiling around in there from both on all three of the markets.
And what did you see following on Tuesday and Wednesday?
Well, and on Tuesday, we got things positive going in the wheat market there, where it really started to pop up a little bit here. I think continued. Well, we had some additional export sales come through. Iraq showed up with some purchases that day and started helping things up. It didn't get reported until the next day, but that type of thing. And then the weather in South America continued to be a feature that's got more and more reports out on the internet, more videos, things of that nature about some of the problems in Paraná. And well, Rio Grande's got some issues too, but it definitely was more focused on some of the videos out of Paraná in the western sections there, and that. And then the local agricultural commission there issued a scenario that the beans potentially might be 2.5 million metric tons lower than their previous estimate, taking it down like 18.5 million metric tons from there. And so that helped put more concerns, but more people looking at what's going on down there. They took another 12% too out of the corn output that they were projecting, and that Paraná has a lot more beans versus corn than Rio Grande is a lot more 50-50. But in general, the whole situation there in those two particular prominent production areas of Brazil both got noted with some issues on things on the production. And also interesting enough, there was even a couple of videos popped up and concerns about how heavy the rains have been in parts of Mato Grosso, with some pretty it's always difficult when you start to see those things as to it can be quite localized and how widespread is it, stuff like that. But it did point out the fact that even Mato Grosso could have some issues because of the drowned outs and things of that nature. Their soils up in the northern area, since they're are not real heavy, so that it's not like a situation where a huge amount of ponding can happen, but it can still impact some of the soybeans up that direction if the water stays on those roots for long periods of time. The other features here, the Southwest in the U.S. Started getting more notoriety about the dryness out that direction. And I think there's been a little bit different things start to come about here on the theory of what the winter wheat numbers might show for us here on when they come out in January here at this point. The general thought was that we were going to have a 3, 4, 500,000 higher winter wheat number, and most of the increase this year is going to most likely still be in the spring wheat and durum area that were cut back dramatically last spring because of the drought in the northern part of the U.S. northern plains. But at the same time, the dryness out that way potentially could have a factor too. To some extent, one of the other deals that did come along was that some of the acres that had been switched over to sorghum and corn didn't get harvested as quickly as maybe it should, and it didn't have. And so some of the producers or people are looking to put on wheat fields on after those two crops. Time they got around to getting that available to them, the dryness had really set in. And so I think there's a possibility that we could actually see some reduction in that number on winter wheat. And that started to get played up here on after some people started looking at the RMA sign up situation here for the month of during the month of December, and that on it because usually the RMA data is pretty well behind us, and it's all focused on corn and soybeans. But they're also prominently involved in the U.S. insurance situation for wheat, and the information that was out on that did suggest that things were a little behind last year's numbers. And so that's something that I haven't totally finalized myself, but I guess I'm not thinking that we couldn't see a slightly smaller winter wheat crop on the January 12th update here when we see that next month. But I think that's a real interesting feature out there in the wheat from there. And also we started to get Algeria came back in for some more wheat, things of that nature. But as we got towards the end of the week here on Thursday, just before we went on holiday here for the Christmas period here, the USDA issued their weekly export sales, and that was corn and soybeans didn't really have any real excitement this point. Now, to some extent, that's really not normally where you have a lot of excitement in the U.S. weekly export sales, but we had a huge jump in exports for soybean oil and that was a feature that helps keep things stay pretty firm here in the soy complex. And you can remember, we did have some pretty hefty purchases by India here that actually showed up in this week's export sales. We had 233,000 plus purchases by them and then some other people. So we had 109,000 jump. We went from way behind on export sales to way ahead. And actually, versus what the USDA projected for this year, we're at 75% of our projection this early in the season. So that does suggest maybe that we might even have possibility some more overseas export sales on bean oil. And I think really what happened here is that with all the talk about in the coming year about renewable diesel in the U.S., I think some people that are needing of oil, so vegetable oil, decided this was a perfect time, and India was the catalyst for this to make their purchases. Because the twist of this at the time that happened, I think we mentioned that the fact that we were down against some historic lows here for the last 6 or 8 months at 51 cents. And they went ahead and made the purchase at the same time the meal was at some of its historic highs. So that spread had really pretty well had hit its opposite ends on things. And so that's part of the reason why that purchase came about. At the same time, though, it suggests that there's still going to be, and then you say, well, geez, how's that going to help the U.S. processor? Well, they were probably the same people that were long meal and short oil. And once they had the sale in there, they've probably been reversing that situation. So they've were well prepared most likely, but probably one of the most astute U.S. commercial people are the people involved in soybean processing. I worked in that industry for a few years, and they know their stuff, and so they don't mess up on these deals like this. So I suspect they're still going to be making some good money while they're still the price of oil goes up later this year, making the delivery. They won't be losing money on that deal from there. But the twist of all this is we actually broke out above some very important levels. We kind of mentioned last week, $6 and $13 were important factors, and that happens on Wednesday of last week, or this week, I should say. What week am I in? And that's put that all together. We had a very strong performance right up until the close here on this week, and going into the holiday with over $6 values on corn and $13 on soybeans. So traditionally we have a pretty sleepy week between Christmas and New Year's, but maybe not this year. With those kind of closes and that, people are going to continue to be very, very observant of what's going on in South America. There's projections right now that Argentina and that area could end up having the market get quite excited about the 90 to 100 degree temperatures that are going to be currently being forecast here from Cordoba, Santa Fe, all the way northward towards Paraná. And when there's even some analysts were taking down Paraná's crop down 1.5 million metric tons at this earlier this week too. So the activity here in the soybean complex has really got its focus now on South America and what's going on there and that type of thing. And also the corn and wheat markets are basically staying competitive and watching the U.S. situation there in the Southwest.
Yes, considering the weather-wise scenario in South America, what do you think is going to happen in the new year and the coming months? Because I think the situation could be worse for corn in terms of the crops, and better for the prices of the coarse grain.
I totally agree that the corn market, interestingly enough, it wasn't part of the kind of leading this market up this week. It was more involving the soybeans. But from a standpoint of a crop that could be susceptible here to having problems, with the kind of forecast that we have in the short term, and you're exactly right about the La Nina, what it normally does, what it happens. Right now, Argentina has been able to kind of miss the bullet up to this point on some of the conditions, but in general, areas south of Mato Grosso do Sul in South America, and that includes Paraná and Rio Grande, and the major producing areas there in Argentina, Cordoba and Santa Fe. That could make a significant factor in here, and I think that it's been a little surprising that there hasn't been as much much focus on that. And I really do think that it could make things interesting. I don't want to jump on the boat that we're on the same direction we were last year, where this thing really shot up pretty impressively by spring, because the prospects of having the same type of impact in Brazil in their northern areas on the drought that hit that. But the problem is we've lost a lot of production from that, and we've got a lot tighter situation. So the smallness, the impact of the southern Brazil and Argentina getting in trouble could still be significant enough to give us pushes towards the middle of $6. And I don't. The beans are always a difficult one because they are a little more drought tolerant, and how much emotion we can get involved in that. And right now, at least, one of our big customers in this thing has really been surprisingly quiet. If without their enthusiasm from China at this point, that's also going to be watched closely as to how they react to this thing and what they do when their timing and all that. But it looks like 2022 here is going to be a very interesting year again after what's happened over the last 18 months. And then at the same time, we got to worry about the pandemic. So our heads are spinning.
All right, Jerry, we'll catch up next week before this year ends and see how it goes.
Exactly. Well, hopefully we get some more insights about what happens, but our heads are going to have to be keeping on a swivel here to keep track of all these things.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.